what I am encouraging women to do to rise is to, if you do have a business, if that is something, if your path is being an entrepreneur, to put your heart and soul into it and rise, because that money, that independence is going to empower you, empower your children, empower everyone around you. And that is how we're going to help all women rise.
Hello and welcome to today's Instagram Live Summer Conversation Series in the fall. I think we've officially moved into the autumn conversation series, and I am so excited for my guest today, who's going to be joining us in a moment, and I want to introduce you to her. Now, if you have been a listener to the Connect with Sheila Botelho podcast, you will have maybe heard her story. She is someone who inspires me so much, and now she has written a book. I can't wait to share her story. Today's guest is Leslie Kuster, author of 7 Keys to 7 Figures. And I'm going to admit her into the room right now. There will be a slight delay, so you'll just hear some open space for a moment, but she'll be here in just a moment. And here she is, and she's so patient because
it worked.
My tech has been fun today. This has happened one other time on Instagram. Thank you so much for your patience. And everyone, welcome to Leslie Kuster. Oh, so good to have you here.
Happy to be here. So nice to see you again.
You as well. It's been a while. It was last year.
Yes.
You were on the podcast as well. And I'm going to be linking, for those who have not yet heard, the really inspirational and make you feel like you could climb a mountain kind of story. You're going to love it. And of course, I'm going to be talking about this book today because this is her book, baby. She just launched 7 Keys to 7 Figures. How do you feel, Leslie?
I'm so excited. I'm really happy. For anyone who's interested in writing a book and launching a book, it is an insanely long process, like so much longer than you could possibly imagine. I think the idea for this book was over 3 years ago, and from the start until now, and there's so many stages and there's so much work involved. And it's all up to this moment of launch, which was just this week for me. So I'm feeling so relieved and happy and excited. And yeah, my book baby is out in the world now. And I feel really, really blessed. It's a big thing. It really is. I can understand. I mean, those authors who write and write and write and write. Wow. Impressive.
Absolutely. It's so easy for us to take for granted if we're just readers. And I applaud all of our readers because it's challenging to find the space to read now. There's so much for us to actually see out there in the world. And so what is really amazing is when we actually look, I look at my bookshelf filled with hours and hours and hours and hours, and not just hours and hours, years, let's face it, because this is your story. This is what you came through to come to this point in your business.
Yeah.
And I really want to dive into a little bit about what brought you to this place and, maybe giving us the high level version, because typically on these Instagram lives, we capture things in a smaller time capsule for people.
Yeah.
So we can do high level. We'll link your full story. But, Leslie, at first, I just want to celebrate you for being in this phase of business and this phase of life as well, where, you could just be playing pickleball all the time and not sitting and, okay, let's put this, and then reading it over and over again to edit it. So much love goes into a book. So tell us your story.
I had a business a long, long, long time. 20 years. And my business briefly is back from Bali, women's clothing that I manufacture in the beautiful island of Bali and import it into the US and sell it primarily on Amazon and my website. And yeah, the business did okay, but really not great. And when I say not great, it was an under six-figure business in revenue. And after 20 years of this, and I began to feel so frustrated with where I was at in my business and making money that I just decided I'm changing it. I'm just putting all my focus into it. And I am going to build a successful business and I'm going to make some money in my life. That's what I wanted to do. And that's what happened, Sheila. It just, I put all of these action steps and ideas and activities. And that's why I call the book Seven Keys to Seven Figures, because there were specifically seven things that I did and implemented that brought my business from five figures, which is where it was, to multiple seven, which is where it is now.
So fantastic. And what is even more inspiring? I mean, if that's not inspiring, because like 20 years and then say, okay, now we're going to scale. Like,
No.
First of all, your commitment to your autonomy and freedom as well, of saying, I want my own business, which is not for everyone, but also after that long saying, okay, I'm going to make it bigger now. I'm ready. It's go time. And a lot of people would not maybe take that step forward of believing that if things were happening one way for so long, that things can actually change. So that's really hopeful. Then there's also the timing of your life through these seasons, because Leslie, you've had a few different variations and kind of, you've reclaimed yourself over and over a few times in your life. And you initially had a corporate career. You were down in Bali on a trip, came home, said, no, I don't want to be in an office. And that's when Back to Bali was born.
Yeah.
But how old were you when that happened?
This was in my early 30s. So, I was working in New York City. I was working in public relations. I had a situation where my house got robbed, and luckily I had insurance. And so all of a sudden I had insurance money, and I always wanted to travel to Indonesia, the beautiful islands I saw on the map. I just felt drawn. And I just went, and I went traveling for 7 months. But then at the end of 7 months, I had to go back to New York City and get a job, right? I needed to do something, work, whatever. And I was looking through the New York Times, which is what you did back then, to find jobs in an actual newspaper. And there just was nothing I wanted to do, nothing. And it wasn't so much that there was nothing that interested me. It was just I had tasted the freedom bug. I had tasted the experience of traveling, of freedom, of going where I wanted without having to have 2 weeks vacations, all of that. And that feeling was so strong inside of me. I was like, I will do anything except go back to a corporate job. Anything. I didn't care what it was, as long as it gave me freedom to live how I wanted to live. And that's how my business was born, out of that almost desperation of not wanting to go back into an office building. And Back from Bali was born at that time.
Mm. So here you were. And then 20 years later, let's do the math, people.
Yeah.
Let's 36 plus 20. Okay. So when most people are thinking, okay, so, we've probably reached our peak in life and our earnings and all that kind of stuff. You decided, I'm changing things. And that is when you started to scale, and you basically learned and started to implement the things that you share in this book. And that is so inspirational. And I mean, it's inspirational to me because, well, for many reasons. I mean, being a woman saying, hey, look, I'm doing this, and going against, like, you share the stories in here of, some of people's thoughts, and, coming up in an era where, women have a certain place in the world, and women still struggle with certain things. And yet you did it anyway. And so I love those stories in here. They just warm my heart. And then also just being in this space where you decided that anything was still possible. I turned 51 this past summer, and I do feel like 50 was like a rebirth. And so when I hear your story and I see what you were able to start creating at that point in your life, and what you're still now you're an author, and now you're like coaching on like a global scale because of what you've learned, it just shows me that really anything is possible. It's whatever we choose to do. So I just applaud that. I celebrate that. And, so many beautiful stories that people will get from this that are actionable as well. It's not just when someone looks at this saying, well, but that's just her. I could never do it. Like, I think you really make it accessible for people who really want to. I think it's the desire. So why don't you talk to me about that? Give me a snapshot for people to just get an idea of what I'm referring to, of maybe a story or a time where you said, I'm going to do this. What happened? What did the people around you think when you made that decision?
Well, first of all, no one believed me. And, I remember when I became, quote, successful, and I remember someone on Facebook, a good friend, said, I'm shocked by your success. And I was like, well, why are you shocked? And these are the kind of the responses that you can get. Becoming successful is not always a positive thing in terms of what you get from the outside. And a couple of stories that you're referring to was one, and I'll just go super brief, which is that at some point I began to get the confidence to tell other people online about my sales, because I want other women to know it's possible. Yes. And I did it in my early 50s without any business degree, or I don't even know how to sew, and I sell clothing. And so it's really possible. And so I put it up that I had passed the 7-figure mark, and a friend of my husband's was really disturbed that I did this, and made a comment that he didn't think I was, quote, that kind of person. And he was really very surprised at, who I was. So these are the kind of things that women can get back. That would never happen to a man, for example, ever, 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 right? So becoming successful also, you change your identity, right? Because before you were this, and then all of a sudden to your family and to your friends and other people, you become something different. But boy, Sheila, I'm glad I did because it is a lot better on this side than it was on the other side when I was struggling, I will tell you. And one of my fears back then, before, let's quote, the success, was that I would lose my freedom and I would lose my time and I would lose all that kind of stuff. And the opposite is true. The more successful I've become, the more time I've actually gotten back into my life. And so these are all limiting beliefs we have, that success will make us busy or too busy and we won't be able to do this, this, and that. These are just thoughts in our head that actually are not true.
You're absolutely right. And I love that you have the proof of this. You've experienced it. And isn't it interesting? This is something that in my circles with my women, and actually some really amazing men in our lives, who understand that society has tried to keep women small and in a certain space. And some people may postulate that there's like been a fear over the years of the power that women really do hold. And it is a creative power inside of us. And frankly, every single human has it. It's just that we need to level that playing field. And you're right. Like, people need to see, men and women need to see women succeeding, women in power positions, women owning their story and unapologetically sharing it. So I champion your cause. I love it so much. And yeah, it's so interesting. And I think it's like, it shows you, from what I've, especially reading this and having our conversations, it shows you your strength can increase through the years. You care about people, but less about what certain people think.
Yeah.
And it's very clarifying, right?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I'm someone who is very aware of the time ticking. Okay. I had a lot of losses in my life, deaths, miscarriages, and they've been gifts. I look at them as gifts in my life, and they're gifts in my life because they've woken me up to the reality that things can change really fast, and you could lose people, lose one's own life. So I really try to live my life as out of my comfort zone as I possibly can. And I think this is something that I encourage other people to do, and women in particular to do, because it's just, we have to really grasp our opportunities now. And there's so much help out there, people like you and other people, and myself, other people that I pay to as well to help me. There's so much help out there. There's so many opportunities out there. And it's really all possible. There's many keys, 7 keys that I talk about, but it really starts with really wanting it. You have to get really clear that success or money or whatever you're trying to do is something that you really, really, really want. And it's coming from authentic success and authentic yearning rather than what you think you should be doing. And when you do that, when you get really clear what you really, really, really want, and it could be gardening and it could be making a ton of money. It doesn't matter. But when you get super clear and honest about it, because what I realized is I was not honest for a very long time about what I wanted. That is when the magic happens, when you become authentic and honest with what you really want.
100%. That authenticity then spreads to others and shows them that they can take a deep breath and release it and be who they really are meant to be. Most people are really, it's interesting because what happened to you, that story you shared earlier, is what a lot of us are afraid of having happen. And a lot of our fears typically don't even happen, right? The stuff that happens is like, oh, I didn't even think that was a possibility. Oh, okay. And I think it's great when it's good things that happen that you never expected, but usually we spend so much time in our head worrying. And meanwhile, that's everyone. We're thinking about, okay, how am I showing up? And, what are people going to say or whatever? These are just very common, basic things for us to fit in to the world and stay safe. And yet we're afraid of what other people are thinking, but they're really not thinking about us in the ways that we think.
They're thinking about themselves as I am and as you are. And that's really, they don't really care. And we have to realize that. And that's why we have to do our thing, do your thing. And this is what's so important. Do your thing, whatever it is. And realize that whatever you think that you can't do because of you're too old or you don't know enough or you don't have connections like other people do, all of those things are really not true. And I know people sometimes argue, well, it is true. I don't know a lot of people. It is true. I didn't study this. Well, it isn't true. It really is. If you really wanted it, and if you really want it, there's so many resources out there to help you do whatever it is that you really want to be doing.
Absolutely. And speaking of resources, this book in and of itself, it's not only, I read it kind of like a memoir that's actionable. There's also so many resources at the back of the book. $1 million mindset resources. And like just so many different things, from everything from real estate, finance, investing, marketing, personal development, hiring help. Thank you very much. Graphics, recommended books, like so many things. If you're like, I don't even know where to begin, get the book and walk through it. And I'm just going to read super fast. I love the endorsements of the book as well. Those are inspiring in and of themselves. So I just want to read like really the theme here, starting out. Number one, I love how you start with, it's never too late, from failure to success. So like you share your story, the freedom business, the money business, and then you go into the 7 keys. And I love the very last one, women, it's time to rise.
Yeah.
I'm really feeling that right now. Are you feeling that in the collective?
Oh, the book has a lot of tenderness in it, a lot of understanding, a lot of inspiration, a lot of personal stories. But the book is a kick-ass book. Ultimately, the purpose of this book is to wake up, is for women to wake up and to stop keeping themselves small and to stand up and rise, because we need to do this. And the only way to rise is if a woman has financial independence. There is no way we can do anything without having that. And so what I am encouraging women to do to rise is to, if you do have a business, if that is something, if your path is being an entrepreneur, to put your heart and soul into it and rise, because that money, that independence is going to empower you, empower your children, empower everyone around you. And that is how we're going to help all women rise, because that is really the goal. And that's the mission. That's my mission of this book, is to help women rise. And I know she could do it at any age, whether she is 20 or 50 or 70 or 80. It doesn't matter. It just matters if you really want it, and then implement the action steps that are needed. And I talk a lot about inner actions and outer actions, that the two have to go together.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just such a beautiful work of art. And I love what you shared. It really is a call to arms in the best way possible. And it's great for everybody, right? I really believe, like, the better everyone is doing, the better everyone does. And so I want you to share, what are you offering in your world of business now? I know that you've got Back to Bali. People, go and check it out, and we'll have it all linked. And then you're also doing some coaching as well. So maybe share a little bit about some of the other things you're doing, other than like loving on this book and talking about it right now.
Yeah, sure. My business is Back from Bali, and the best way to find it is on Amazon. Also my own website too. Women's bohemian style clothing, loose and colorful. I have my book, and my book, 7 Keys to 7 Figures book.com. If you get the book through that, and it is 99 cents, the digital version, only through the weekend, and then it's going into full price. So this is the time to get it right now. And when you do buy it through that link, I then give bonuses as well. So what kind of things do? I teach a wonderful course called Keys to Success. And I am giving away one of the modules for the keys too, as a bonus there. And also there's a manifestation video, because so much of what I've done in terms of attracting into my life, everything has been coupled, as I said before, with the inner actions of having intentions and manifesting. So this is really key. So I give you that video as well. So definitely check me out that way. I am here to help and inspire. So please contact me through, Instagram, social, or my website as well, lesliekuster.com. And as you said, there is this resource list. It's in the back of the book. So if you get the book, you'll have it. But also, it is a PDF that you can get on my website as well. And it's basically 30 years of me collecting the best of the best and just giving it. Because this is my goal, is to give it out to women, to help women rise.
Oh, so wonderful. I am so grateful that you are here. Thank you for doing the work that you're doing. And thank you for basically blazing the trail ahead of all of us to really know that we can do what we choose to do with our life and live with that intention and freedom and joy that is possible. It's so wonderful that you've been here.
Thank you so much, Sheila.
So everyone who is watching, make sure you go get the book. It is on Amazon. I got it on Amazon.ca. So there's a nice review there. And please do that. Leave a review. This is how books get out. It's also how podcasts and all these things get out. Share it, all those kinds of good things. And this particular interview is also going to be on next week's Connect with Sheila Botelho podcast. You'll be able to hear it there and listen to it again and again, because I really feel like the more we hear these vibrant stories, the more we know what is possible, and we start to have it inside of us, because life can be kind of challenging, right? So I'm so excited to see the rise of your book. And oh my goodness, it's an Amazon bestseller, right?
Yes, it is. It's an Amazon bestseller.
Said that right off the top. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So if I could have cheer, like the cheer squad, I would.
It's really very exciting. It's an Amazon bestseller. And please go get the book, and please share it with other women. This is the purpose of this book, is to help you and to help other women as well.
Awesome. Leslie, Thank you so much. And I wish everyone all the best today. And I'll be seeing you again soon. We'll have to make sure we get in those voice notes and have a chat.
Bye, everybody. To your success.
Bye. Take care, everyone. Thanks for being here.